incredible guitar style of Shawn Lane, influenced by rock, blues, classical, and jazz. Shawn Lane's awesome technique and exceptional musicianship have brought him international attention by fellow guitarists and music fans alike. REH and CPP are very proud to present for the first time Shawn Lane in this two-part instructional and performance video series. In the next hour, we'll see Shawn perform live and learn about some of his fine compositions. Also, Shawn picks up where he left off in Volume 1, discussing playing techniques and his amazing use of pentatonic scales. So we hope you enjoy getting to know and learning from this talented musician, Shawn Lane.
Welcome to my second instructional video for REH. In this one, hopefully I'll be showing some things that weren't covered in the first video. Also, we're going to include some performance footage from a recent concert that I did at Musicians Institute out here in Los Angeles. Right now, we're filming from Record One Studio out in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles area, where I'm cutting some tracks for an upcoming release with producer Andy Johns, a great producer, has worked with a lot of great people like Van Halen, Joe Satriani, and lots of great people. And in the MI concert, we're going to be seeing me play with my full band, which includes Barry Bays on bass, Doug Scarborough on keyboards, and Shawn Rickman on drums. And then also some other footage that was shot in Seattle with me and Shawn Rickman on the drums, performing with computer tracks that I laid down previously on the keyboard, bass, and keyboards accompanying us. So, hope you enjoy. Okay, now we're going to cover some different ways to finger the different pentatonic positions, primarily in an ascending manner. This uses some kind of unusual fingering patterns that really make it easier to play groupings and shapes of this type. So first, I think I should show the basic pentatonic positions in a given key and the way that I break them up in my style of playing. So we're going to be in the key of A, and I'm going to go slowly through the 5 different pentatonic positions. First position. The second position is this is all 2 notes per string. Third position is here's the fourth position. Here's position number 5. And then it starts all over again the next octave up. Now I want to show you a pentatonic sequence and a method of fingering it that's quite unusual and will be of great help in playing particularly ascending rhythmic groupings of 5 in the various pentatonic positions. What I was doing there is a rhythmic grouping of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to do a lot of things like that because they throw the rhythm off. Instead of something even like 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I do a lot of 5s and a lot of odd number groupings, and it gives a very interesting rhythmic feel to a lot of the phrases I do. And the way you have to finger this in order to do it smoothly is starting on the first note of 5, you start with the second finger, and you go. And then you start with the second finger again. Then with the second finger again. Then with the second finger again. Now the normal way to do that would be just to use the first finger and the third finger, the way that you might think it would, that would be done. But if you did that and you were doing 5s, you would have to continually flatten the third finger out, which would be very awkward and you wouldn't be able to do it very smoothly. And that would be something like this. And then you'd have to flatten it. Flatten. It's very difficult. This way it's very easy. It seems like it would be strange, but you have to angle your hand a little bit, angle it, in order to be able to get that the second finger, over there. And then once you do that, you can practice that in this position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then I would encourage you to try to move that around into the various different pentatonic positions. That's using the first 4. That's using 5. Or you can switch almost anywhere. That one, slow, is this. Here are some pentatonic sequences using different rhythmic groupings that were shot earlier as a part of the first instructional video shoot that I did in Seattle some weeks back. And that brings me to a type of pentatonic playing that I want to cover, which is a 2-note per string type of pentatonic playing. And it involves some hammer-ons and some picking. And it involves using different rhythmic groupings again, where you're doing rhythmic groupings of 4, which would be basically the... and then combined with rhythmic groupings of 3, which would be like... So if you combine those, if you do some 4s and some 3s, it's a real interesting sound, like... So that was kind of some of the downward 1-note per string arpeggios mixed in there too. And so slow, that's like... And also you can get into some areas where you're doing 5s going downward in pentatonics, which is another type of passage I like to do. I'll do it in an E pentatonic. Slow, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 4s and 5s mixed together. All these kind of displaced rhythmic groupings I tend to, because it just is the sound that I hear in my head, and so... Now those were some part of some descending pentatonic licks using picking. Now the basis for those, first you need to learn how to do your basic 6s and 5s with picking in the pentatonic scale. The 6s would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'd be... And then you need to work on your 5s. There's 2 different ways you can do the 5s. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting on the same string. the next group down, one note down the pentatonic scale in each rhythmic group. Or you can do 2 downstrokes in a row and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do another downstroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 downstrokes in a row, which is kind of almost a speed picking type thing. Okay, then an interesting way to mix those up further, I incorporate 3s into that a lot. So sometimes I'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, incorporating some of the blue or chromatic notes into there. Or you can do 3s and 6s. 3s and 6s would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that was a mixture of 3s, 6s, and then the 5s. So, and then those really sound good when you start changing positions and doing different positions of the pentatonic scale like that, like... Okay, I'd like to do a lick now that kind of demonstrates combinations of a lot of these things, and it'll be transcribed in the book. So I'm just going to play through maybe a couple different licks that utilize a lot of the things mixed all together. Now I'm going to show a solo that I did as a part of the MI concert. And it's a song called Esperanto that's also on the Powers of 10 album on Warner Brothers. And I'm going to play it first in time, and then I'm going to slow it down and show you why I did some of the things I did and possibly how to finger them. Okay, here it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the chords that solo is over are this. It starts with a D minor, and then E in the first inversion, and then an E chord with a C in the bass, and then an A chord with an F in the bass. And the groove is something like this. Now the first few notes of that, I use some very subtle bending techniques on. I start out slow, then it goes. And what I'm doing there is I play the first note, and I bend up to it a little bit, like a portamento on a keyboard, using the vibrato bar, holding the vibrato bar with these fingers while I'm holding the pick with this finger. And then when I play the second note, I bend down slightly on it. So these are subtle touches that add to the expressiveness and the overall phrasing, and that are part of this solo. So. Now the next section is a little harder, and it has some rhythms that are kind of bebop influenced, and it goes like this. I'll slow that down even more one time. So in tempo, that has all kinds of little turns and triplets in it that are reminiscent of some bebop type of phrasing. It's kind of hard to execute cleanly. It goes like this in time. So work on that, and it'll come easy to you over time. Okay, the next section is this. And that slow is. Which is kind of an augmented pattern, augmented scale. It'd be so. And then it continues with a strange lick that utilizes only 2 fingers. And that is a very strange pattern. It's just 2 fingers. Okay, and that slow is. And even slower is. And that may seem like a very strange fingering for that, but it really works. It's the most natural, comfortable way to do something like that. That's an example of various ways to use that all over the neck. It's basically the same scale. Okay, anyway, we'll continue. The next lick is this. Okay, that slow is. Even slower it would be. Now, the next lick is a wide interval lick that, for me, it requires that I kind of tilt the guitar upwards in order to get that kind of stretch. And also, it's very important that you bring your thumb, I've probably stressed this before, but you have to bring your thumb around the neck so that the fingers will spread out evenly. And I first start by stretching to this position. The pattern I'm doing there is kind of a... So slow, the pattern is like... It's a variation of two things, that pattern, and then also this pattern. So it's... Okay, then I do the same thing, but I spread the fingers even further apart in a kind of a stranger sounding interval relationship to this. The first finger stays in the same position, and then second and fourth fingers go up one fret each. So now you're at, which again is a kind of an augmented, kind of a strange sound. Same patterns. So it starts out here. And that's a very unusual pattern. You can go crazy with that. After you get the basic pattern down, you can have a lot of fun. Okay, the last lick of the song is a song that on the album is doubled with a whole lot of guitars and harmony. And live, I do it in harmony with the keyboard player. He plays the harmony line. But I'm going to show you the primary line that I play, and it's kind of a variation on the main theme of the song itself. I'll do that slow one time for you. Again, I'm using the bar on this section very subtly as an expressive tool. Just very little pitch bends like that can be very effective if put in the right place. And you don't want to overdo it, but you know, it's just a certain balance you have to try to achieve of playing a note just straight sometimes, then with some finger vibrato, and then sometimes bending up to it. And then bending notes down is something that people don't do a lot. People do a lot of bending up. But I find a down bend can be very expressive, and that's something that people don't do a whole lot. Like even if you're doing a regular rock like that, you could go. It makes it a lot more expressive when you get those little down bends in there like that. That slow would be something like... This next tune we're going to play is called Get You Back. I wanted to get a real pop kind of instrumental feel on this. It was initially inspired by Stevie Winwood a little bit, and although the version we do live is probably a little more hard rock in nature, but the album version has kind of a Stevie Winwood flavor to it, and hope you enjoy it. Okay, here's the lick that I just did in the song Get You Back, part of the solo, so you can check that out and I'll slow it down for you. Okay, broken down and slow, the lick goes something like this. The chords to the part of the song that solo occurs over are kind of a key center of A. It goes something like this. The song Not Again we're going to do is a song that really has a lot of input from the great drummer that I've been playing with in this video named Shawn Rickman. He's really an inspiration to me. And we have a real long improvised section at the end of this song. It's real free, kind of outside, kind of improv. And but part of the solo is pretty structured, so later on I'm going to show you an excerpt from that and break it apart and show you how to play that. Okay, we're going to pick up kind of toward the end of the Not Again solo. I wanted to show you some of the licks in that. And they're kind of representative of the style I like to play, using wide interval leaps and also using the finger to pick certain notes. So we're going to start around the time where it does this lick. Okay, so I'm going to play it fast first so that you'll be able to identify it from the song, and then I'll do it slow for you. Okay, let me break it down for you now and show it to you slow. I'm also going to count and do it in time so that you can see how it relates to the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the chords that are into that part of the solo, just so you can know some sort of context, is kind of a D major, relative minor, and G. And a D. Okay, now I'm going to do the lick fast and in time so that you can see the context. I'm also going to start it out with just a little piece of the melody that happens before the lick so that you'll have a better time identifying it within the context of the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we're going to show a clip of a performance from MI of a song called Black Market. It's kind of a weather report, kind of a standard fusion tune. And me and the drummer Shawn on this tune just go out for a lot of extended, kind of free-form, harmonic, if you will, improvisation. So I hope you enjoy this.
Coming up next, we asked Shawn about recording, composing, his piano playing, and advice he might have for young players.
Well, I enjoyed doing the album Powers of 10. That's something I'd always wanted to do because I've also played drums for a long time and bass and keyboards. And so on that album I played all the instruments and wrote all the songs but one and engineered it and produced it because I went to engineering school when I was a kid in high school. We had a recording studio and a vocational school in our high school, so I went a few years to that. And I have my own studio now, so and I produced the album. What I'd like to do is branch off into producing other people's records and engineering other people's records, and then also do some more records myself, maybe some live performances, because there's a certain style of playing I do live that it's hard to ever really capture that in the studio. But I'd really love to do some film scoring. I'm really a big film fanatic and study film scoring a lot. And some of my favorite composers today, Jerry Goldsmith, Patrick Doyle, Ennio Morricone, Mark Isham, are all film score composers. James Horner. And so I want to get into that. Also, I'd love to, even though I can't play classical piano in public because I just started too late to do the traditional repertoire, I'd really love a chance to do some of my own pieces, maybe with a pops orchestra sometime or something like that. Well, I write at the keyboard, and a lot of the things that you'll hear on the album sometimes are the first time it was ever played. I use the computer for composing a lot, and I use the computer just like a digital tape recorder almost, and I just sit down and play things. And if I get a whole section of a piece on piano or whatever instrument, keyboard instrument I'm playing, whatever sound I'm triggering from the keyboard rather, I will save that and file that away and maybe use that whole thing in a song as part of a song. So a lot of times pieces of songs you'll hear are the first time that actually it was conceived, is the actual first time it was improvised and played. And then also, as far as in composing orchestral music and everything, I just orchestrate and build up the parts, and instead of composing, say, for a real orchestra in my head and then making do with kind of a second-rate version of that with samples and stuff, I actually compose for the sampled sounds themselves, so that if I'm wanting to hear strings, I'm composing the part for a sampled type string sound. I'm not really trying to make it do something it can't. I love real instruments and all that, and it's wonderful. Unfortunately, for modern composers today, especially if you want to work in a tonal kind of idiom, there's just not a lot of outlet to get real symphonies to perform your music. So there's the new trend with computers and software and sampling is a great way to compose what you want to compose, and just, you know, compose around the sounds that are there instead of trying to make them copy something that they can't do exactly. Well, I guess when I was about 17, I got into Art Tatum. I heard a National Public Radio show one time that featured Oscar Peterson. I had been aware of him, and I was really into Oscar Peterson. And when he was saying that he, you know, if you liked him, that Tatum was the man, that, you know, even he couldn't touch Tatum, then I thought, whoa, I really got to hear this Tatum guy. So I checked out. The first thing I heard by him, I think, was the MCA Masterpieces album, this version of his song Tiger Rag that he has, which is just this insane thing. So right away I was hooked. Now I have every Tatum album that I can find, probably about 90 or so albums, and I'm just an Art Tatum maniac. And that led me to just appreciate all the other greats in jazz. Now Keith Jarrett is just, you know, awesome to me. I got all his albums and videos and everything, and Bill Evans, all the greats. Also in Memphis, there's a great jazz pianist that not many people know about, Phineas Newborn Jr., who was one of the greats of all time, and he died a couple years ago, but he lived in Memphis most of his life. And
did you meet him? Know him?
Yeah, I met him, and I knew him pretty good, and he wanted me to come over to his house, but I didn't go, and then he died before I got a chance to really hook up with him much, but he was a great guy.
Well, then that led to you actually playing piano.
Well, I got into playing piano because I love classical music so much, and I figured I could spend the time learning to play classical guitar, gut string guitar, but I really didn't want to do that because the literature for that instrument didn't appeal to me as much as the literature for the piano, because most of the literature for classical guitar is Spanish composers, Tárrega and Sor and Castelnuovo Tedesco and all these things, which is some fine music, but my temperament was more suited to Liszt and Chopin and Scriabin and Beethoven, Brahms, all that, and there just wasn't, those composers didn't write for guitar. Paganini wrote a little for guitar, and so I just, instead of learning classical guitar, I just channeled it into learning piano. And then I was pretty natural on the piano and really loved playing piano a whole lot, and in a way wished I'd started earlier because I'd love to play really legitimate classical piano. Well, the direction I want to go in guitar is just to try to achieve just more balance. Everything is just a striving for balance, balancing, you know, elements and phrasing of speed and taste and lyricism and all this. Everything is just a balance, you know, so more purity and more balance and just a continual refinement of intonation and, you know, just to try to get better to approach some of the people that I idolize so much, like Jascha Heifetz or, you know, Joseph Hoffman or Alan Holdsworth, Pat Metheny, you know, some of the wonderful people. Well, I think people should just get into music more. than just specifically guitar. When I started playing guitar, I wasn't really worried about getting all that much better or anything. I just played it because I enjoyed it, and I just played a lot of pop songs, a lot of rock songs, and the technique thing just kind of came naturally. But I went through a period there when I was a kid of being kind of really obsessed with the technical kind of end of things. But now it's just the music that matters to me, and I think kids, and people starting to play the guitar, instead of just thinking they have to accumulate all this tremendous stuff and then make music, I think it's important to just make music at whatever technical level you're at, because I've heard some of the greatest music of guitarists that have no technique, and some of the music that has the most technique in the world, and it doesn't matter. There's wonderful music to be made at any technical level. So people, instead of just working on technique, should really try to just express themselves in a musical way at whatever level they're at. I think people should try to put music in a more historical perspective instead of just being into what's now. You know, it's like planned obsolescence of the music industry, where the only hot thing is the thing now. I mean, there's still recordings you can go back to from the 50s to 1910 and just have the most valid modern expression. So this whole trend in the business toward everything always being geared toward what's new, I think that's a little destructive in a way, because people don't get the context of things, the historical context. Well, I guess I just do a lot of different things, and people should try to listen to me and all sorts of other things in music and also in art or movies or culture in general. I think people should try to see things for what they are and just listen to something for what it is, instead of coming to it with a preconceived set of notions and then judging it against what they already have in their head. You should just clear your head and just listen to something for what it is in and of itself and judge it like that. That's about all the time we have now for part 2. Hope to see you again in some future instructional releases. And again, I would urge you to buy my Powers of 10 album on Warner Brothers if you haven't done so already. I'd like to thank a few people that have helped me make this possible. That's Roger Hutchinson, Joe Priesnitz, Steve Scoville, Keith Wyatt, Record One for letting us shoot some of the footage in here, Andy Johns, Rail Rogut, and my band, Barry Bays, Doug Scarborough, and Shawn Rickman. It's kind of getting to be a long list. But anyway, I'd like to thank these people very much, and thank you for purchasing the video, and hope to see you soon on tour.